Op 20 januari 2017 begon Donald Trump zijn werkzaamheden als 45ste president van de Verenigde Staten van Amerika. Al gauw werd duidelijk dat zijn uitspraken en beslissingen met gemengde gevoelens werden ontvangen. Aan de ene kant mensen die hoopvol kijken naar de toekomst en aan de andere kant mensen die bang zijn dat hun veiligheid en vrijheid door Trump zullen worden aangetast. Vandaag het slotdeel van wat de eerste 100 dagen van Donald Trump, de machtigste man van de wereld, hebben betekend voor mensen in Amerika en de wereld.
Immigration pulled me aside and said, asked me if I could, you ask me a couple of questions. I said, okay, sure. What's your name? And I said, Muhammad Ali Jr. And then they asked me, who gave you your name? I said, my mother and my father, duh. And so they asked me what was my religion. And I was like, I'm a Muslim, but what do that have to do with my travel?
In the meantime, they rolled me into another room, and the first thing they asked me was, what is your religion? I just happened to have pictures with me to sign autographs, and so, oh, you're Muhammad Ali's wife. Oh, okay, you're free to go. And I said, well, where's my son?
And then after that was up, 4 or 5 minutes ago, they told me I was free to go. We was invited to Washington, to Capitol Hill, to speak about this whole incident. They took me into a room and asked me the questions again. I presented my ID. He said, oh, I got to call somebody. We was like, who you got to call?
Homeland Security.
He said, they're checking something, I don't know. And then they said my ID was not valid. So that's when I presented my passport. But if I didn't have my passport, I wouldn't have got back to Fort Lauderdale.
This is total harassment, total discrimination, totally out of line and totally unacceptable.
And totally unconstitutional.
Yes.
I had been in Florida for a couple of days, and I had got on my plane to come back from Florida at 2 o'clock on that Friday. And when I landed at 5 o'clock, I saw a series of text messages and emails from friends of mine from all across the country asking me things like, are you okay? And is it true? It's not remarkable at all for a new president of another party to ask the United States attorneys and other political appointees to resign. What was completely unprecedented was the idea that 46 of us would be asked to leave by midnight. So for me, effectively, it was 7 hours notice. What saddens me is I think it just reflects a lack of appreciation. And I don't mean in the clap sense, yay, but I mean a lack of fundamental understanding of the profound work that U.S. attorneys do in their communities completely apolitically.
But you know what? You're asking me a question, and I'm going to answer it, which is the president. I'm sorry. Please stop shaking your head again.
I am Mike McCurry, the former White House press secretary to President Bill Clinton from 1995 to 1998. Well, I think sometimes the press corps doesn't have a lot of sympathy for the role of the press secretary. Senior staff want you sometimes to be out there and, be much more aggressive in dealing with hostile questions from the press corps.
I know the pool needs to get to the vans for the signing. Thank you. I'll be back tomorrow. We're going to do 5 days in a row this week, ladies and gentlemen.
But at the end of the day, you have to kind of maintain your own credibility and make sure that the press corps sees you as someone who shoots straight. It's actually what the American public needs.
ISIS is making a tremendous amount of money because they have certain oil camps, right? They have certain areas of oil that they took away. I would bomb the shit out of them.
ضرب البيت صاروخ الليلة وضربوه بالمقدمة. صاروخين ضربوا بعض عارق سموه ما أدى إلى عوائلنا لا يوجد لها أثر.
صوت كان بيصعق خبل صعق يطير العقل يعني تصور ده حقي هذا منه وجهي اشتعل كان لحيتي هيجي راحت ظليت 5 أيام تحت الأنقاض ومن بعدها ما أعرف إيش صار هي يسأل عليه يقولوا مات من عائلتي.
Are you feeling better now?
هاي مامي هاي مكسرة
انت
واوا
دعي انت بيش ملفوفة انت؟
هاي ملفوفة
ايه ومصلخة ما انت؟
The battle in Western Mosul has been a more complex fight than in the east. The neighborhoods here are older, the streets smaller, and ISIS is more heavily dug in. But under the Trump administration, the US-led coalition has increased bombing in Iraq and Syria to an all-time high since Operation Inherent Resolve began. The site of the airstrike has been sealed off to media, and an investigation is ongoing. We tried to get as close as we could, but the area is still an active fight zone.
جدا قريب احنا حاليا يعني جدا قريبين على خط التماس.
What's that sound that we hear now?
هذا صوت طائرات التحالف الدولي.
American?
In a Skype interview, the chief American spokesperson in Baghdad told us there had been a loosening of the rules of engagement starting at the beginning of the year.
The change was that if we have eyes on the target with our forces on the ground, the commander who's on the ground with those eyes on target can call in the airstrike without going through a strike cell.
The spokesperson insisted they're still doing everything they can to avoid civilian casualties. But this change in policy is part of the investigation into what went wrong. Right now, the details are still sketchy. Even the number of airstrikes that took place isn't clear.
So that's your street?
هذا الشارع مالنا هو احنا هذا البيت اللي وقعنا قاعدين بيه هذا شوف هذا هو هذا البيت.
Miasa Hamdi says an airstrike hit his home the morning after the March 17th attack. And his daughter's foot was partially severed.
Some people say that this new American president, Donald Trump, is following more aggressive strategy with these types of airstrikes.
يعني داعش قلت لك يعني ما يتجاوزون إذا أعطيك رقم يعني فوق الطاقة 25 نفر. وإذا كانت هي يعني أمريكا الحكومة الأمريكية الجديدة تريد تبرز إنه هي راح تنتصر على الإرهاب فهي انتصرت براسنا.
So far, I approve of what he's done. I feel like he is keeping a lot of his promises that he had mentioned during the campaign. I really personally appreciate the executive order to, it's not a full a repeal, but starting to work with the Affordable Care Act and making it so me as an American citizen can make my own choice about healthcare.
We were very close. It was a very, very tight margin with no Democrat support. We couldn't quite get there. We're just a very small number of votes short.
Everybody remembers the first 24 hours, and you do. I went to pottery class, like I was taking like a ceramics class, and I remember just sitting there being like, fuck, you know?
Yeah.
Like, you just remember everything's like in slow-mo.
Right, what kind of cancer do you have? Like, what's the specifics of yours?
Endoductal carcinoma. Oh, well, I was stage 1 when I was diagnosed, and now I'm stage 3, because it's spread.
Okay, oh, so it spread since then.
It went into my lymph nodes.
So you're a person who actually buys your health care through the Obamacare exchange.
Yeah.
Because you and your partner are a small business, right?
Yes. We say you should know your fisherman, just like you should know your farmer. You should know where your food comes from. And we want people to understand that salmon are a really special thing. It's not, it's not something to take for granted.
And I know that Alaska is a crazy place to get insurance. So what's that process been like for Obamacare?
I had to choose between 2 insurance plans at that time. And it's since gone down to 1 insurance plan on the Alaska market.
I'm on an island with you. There are 3,000 people who live here. There's no roads in and out. But you have a little hospital. So how does that work for you in terms of healthcare?
Well, it means we have to leave to do big stuff. There's no oncologists, there's no cancer doctors. This fall, I had surgery down in Seattle. And then we came back here, and that's when we realized that MOTA was not going to cover our facility here as in-network. And so we're realizing that I had to do chemo. The cost of living for us was going to be significantly less if we went down to Oregon, where my parents live, and I've got a lot of friends and family that can help take care of us.
You had 2 insurance options then?
We had 2 insurance options at that point.
And the one that you had chosen didn't cover the hospital in your hometown for a chemo, specifically?
For anything.
Okay, and you didn't know that when you picked it, I guess.
Call me crazy, I just made the assumption that one of the 2 insurers in Alaska would cover Alaska.
You had to go move to Oregon to get your chemo done until you could change insurance companies?
Exactly, yeah. Once I was able to switch from MOTA to Primera, Petersburg became in-network.
Okay, so then you're able to come back here.
Yeah. We face a lot of uncertainty, right? Like, it could go well, it could go bad. It's always changing. The rates go up every year. Now we're in this sort of hostile regulatory environment where the administration and the party that has power doesn't like the current healthcare system. I think there's a disconnect between this like we're Republicans, we're pro-business, but what they mean is we're pro-big insurance companies making big bonuses for their CEOs. They're not talking about businesses like ours.
I'm talking to you, of course, now after Trump is president, and it does feel like things are a little bit different and a little bit more uncertain with healthcare. But before that time, would you have called yourself a satisfied Obamacare customer?
No. We kind of fell out of the frying pan into the fire. I mean, before that, I was complaining about Obamacare all the time. It's not a solution for the long term. It doesn't work for a lot of people. It doesn't work for middle-class people, working-class people who actually work and then are like hampered by these big premiums, make it hard to run a business.
You don't want to see it repealed or replaced?
I want to see it repealed and placed with single payer.
Okay.
This is like the great emperor wears no clothes in American healthcare. Is everyone's like, sweet, let's just expand Medicare. And the Democrats and Republicans are like, no, we have to make it work for the insurance companies. No, the government can't be involved. That's all like horse shit.
How did it feel like for you when that healthcare bill failed?
Relief. Well, for us, it was just like a very tangible relief. Sweet. You know, we can continue to get along and invest in our business and be self-reliant as a family and not have to do a GoFundMe, you know, just to pay for Melina's deductibles and all that.
I'm Kyle Beeman. I work at Rexnord Bearings, Indianapolis, Indiana. I'm a quality control inspector. I've been there just short of 10 years. They announced that they were shutting down the facility. They're going to move it to Monterrey, Mexico, and also to McAllen, Texas. The real bad part was when they told us we were going to have to train our counterparts for that job. I'm sorry, you should have had a better contingency plan when you thought that you were going to move this plant just lickety-split to Mexico. I'm not mad at the Mexican people. I'm mad at Rexnord Corporation. If I was to speak to Donald Trump, President of the United States, I would say I'm happy that you were elected. I'm happy that you were able to help Carrier. I wish you could have done more for my company. If you can't help us, help somebody else, because you said you're going to bring jobs back to America, and I'm going to hold you to it.
نزل صاروخ شمينا هيك شم البابا ريحة غريبة وزع علينا خرق قالوا لنا اطلعوا على قص الدرج أمي متخمرة ما الله يهدك يا بشار الله لا يخلي فيك أهلي الله يرحمهم كلهم ما كان حدا منهم عايش لميت بس أنا مين اللي يرعاني ما في حدا يرعاني أنا ليك هاي بشار أسد يضربنا إيه إن شاء الله بدنا نضربه بدنا نقاوم حتى لو نقاوم بالحجر.
Tonight I ordered a targeted military strike on the airfield in Syria from where the chemical attack was launched.
He's maybe, I think, gone a little too far in some of the things that he has done, specifically
the airstrikes in Syria. So, I'm kind of on the fence right now with where he's at.
(4월 15일은 없는 것 같아요. 맞죠? 정말 태양절에 만물이 소생하고 하고 청소하고 정말 깨끗하게 꾸리고 명절을 새갔다고 다 정말 껏들고 옷차림 깨끗이 하고 기가 다 뚫쳐나와서 정말 원수님 수령님 태양절을 정말 맞이하겠다고.
Has this place always looked like this? It's kind of not very full.
No, God, no. In the heyday of that mill, 10, 15 years ago,
You couldn't get in here.
Yeah, this place would be, wall to wall.
Right.
You come in here on a payday and they were 3 deep at the bar. I mean, it used to be a mill bar. 30
busy.
years ago, I was the mayor of this joint. If I wasn't working or sleeping, I was usually here. Right now, the economy's not that bad in the country. It's just the steel industry is in real trouble, and that's mainly due to imports and trade rulings and things like that. Barack Obama wanted to do TPP. We had a huge fight against that. We were totally opposed to that. We haven't had a lot of help from the government when it comes to trade issues for, going back to before Bill Clinton.
But the plant's reopened part of it again. That's not helping?
Oh, it's helped some, yeah, but it's still, 40% for sure.
You were rehired?
Yes. Yeah, I went back in January.
You were?
I'm still laid off.
Oh, you were not rehired?
No. I got laid off in the 29th of January in 2016.
You remember the day?
Yeah. It's been almost 15 months now. Just trying to get by day by day. That's all you can do. And hope you're going to get that phone call, get called back to work, but you just don't know. And that's the hardest thing.
Yeah. Mike, do you remember what it was like when you got the phone call?
Yeah, I think I did a somersault, actually.
Do you feel secure in your job now?
No, I do not. I'm just worried about working in the steel industry right now. Just because they hear that we're opening up, we are, but it's just a really, really, really small amount of fortunate people that get to go back.
How does it make you feel when the president, steps up and takes credit for manufacturing jobs coming back?
We know well enough, after years and years of doing this stuff, nobody's going to do anything in 100 days that's going to make something happen here now. He comes in, he signs an executive order, and everybody thinks that just made it a law. I mean, there's a lot I think it's pretty obvious by the election that a lot of people don't really know how the government works.
My name is Heather Higginbottom, and I was the Deputy Secretary of State for Management and Resources at the U.S. State Department. Some of the most important jobs to fill across the government are the deputy positions. These are the number 2 positions across all government agencies. When you don't have your senior positions filled, then you're not really being a good steward of the federal government and its resources. Every transition, every administration goes through a process of trying to fill positions, and it can take longer than people want. I don't think it's a crisis, but we really need to see movement happening quickly, and we need to see people in these positions empowered to carry the policy agenda forward.
This 100 days has been, it's like he's gambling and playing with our lives. I have hope. I have hope for an impeachment process.
Things are happening so fast. Something happens almost every day. So I've got notes, but I've got 14 items on the pro side, only 1 item on the con side, and that's in pencil because that's healthcare, and healthcare is not settled yet, but we're only 100 days into a 4-year term. I think Trump's on track to be one of the greatest presidents of history.
Let's get your Trump shirt on.
If President Trump is watching this, just keep on keeping on.
And also, I would say, always stay in touch with the people. Always.
Since inauguration, we received a lot of donations. We have new drums. We have the new blueprint for the band room downstairs. I don't pay attention to any politics. I think the main reason why is I'm a college student. I have to do my work. I got to get it done.
I will say this is probably the most unique first 100 days of any president. It's exciting because, you know, as a Republican, you have an opportunity to, things that I've been out here for 6 years trying to do, we now have an opportunity to do, to define government as Republicans see that, but it's also been filled with a lot of disappointment. We'll see what the next couple 100 days look like.
Nangawamping ano mo, bravo no kanya, edu anu orelegismo. Nyame nangapinga yusa ondro pemi kudru, manasari kudru, nangawanga nu nomo, boto no